I think Mr. Gahey had prepared a couple of slides,
Yeah, I
but
have them. I'll share them now. We're live, so I'll share them now so we can go on.
oh, okay. Actually, I didn't see all of these.
We can go on now. We're live.
Hello, I'm Rahul Desai from My Legal Software, and welcome to our weekly webinar, where today we have Soraya Rahman here, the managing attorney of Gahey and Associates, to discuss the uses and, in some cases, abuses of artificial intelligence in the practice of law. And she will be going over with us some of the recent cases and controversies that have, erupted as a result of artificial intelligence used by attorneys.
Thank you, Rahul. My name is Soraya. As Rahul mentioned, I'm a managing attorney at Gahey. So today we're going to be talking about AI and some do's and don'ts with respect to AI. As we all know, it's there have been some errors committed by attorneys with AI. That's been in the news recently. It's made headlines of an attorney using AI, a ChatGPT, to write a legal brief, and the citations were completely made up. And even when the attorney went to verify the citations, the AI confirmed that they were actual citations when they were not. So attorneys should be very careful when using AI. So we have a small presentation for you guys, so we can just go through that. Rahul, if you want to take over.
Sure. I believe we are sharing our screen here with the PowerPoint. If we could just pull up the first page of the PowerPoint presentation. All right, and I think we can actually move to the second page as well, just to give an overview of what we'll be discussing today. We'll look at a specific individual case and then discuss through that case, and in addition after that, the ethical concerns, the concerns about the competence and reliability of different AI, the concerns about communicating how you got those results to your client, the results that AI gives you. And also, the risks for your practice of both using and in some cases, it seems even not using AI. And if we could just start with with going past the introduction to slide 4, if you could pull that up. Yes. So the use of AI is, very appealing, and many people have even, recommended it, saying that within a few years, much like, say, LexisNexis or Westlaw or other technologies before it, it will be difficult to become a practicing attorney without using AI. However, we do want to also highlight that the reasons for skepticism and concern that many attorneys have expressed. And if we could go to the next slide. As Soraya touched on earlier, one recent case involved an attorney using ChatGPT for legal research, and he not only relied on the results, he didn't just rely on the results of ChatGPT. He asked ChatGPT to verify for him that the cases that it was presenting him with that supported the legal arguments that he wanted to make were in fact existing cases, and he was apparently unaware that, ChatGPT could actually lie, or as they would say, hallucinate these different made up cases, and then, lie in its verification about whether or not they were real. And as a result, it can, greatly affect your, your practice and your ability to win cases, and also creates a number of ethical concerns in terms of your obligations to clients. Soraya, is there anything in addition that you would like to add on that point?
No, this is exactly the case. I was mentioning at the beginning of the webinar. Yes.
Yes. And then, another point that people have brought up is that in terms of not just competence, but in terms of your duties to your client, you also have communication duties, and basically you have to be transparent with them about your reasoning process in terms of how you arrived at the answers that you're giving them. And as a result of that, if the AI that you're using is not only giving you false answers, but even if it is giving you correct answers, if it's not letting you know the correct reasoning to get to those answers, that affects your ability to represent your clients and your ability to communicate with the clients about why you're pursuing the particular strategies that you are, or why you're taking any course of action. It's not simply a question of getting the right answer as quickly as possible, but also being able to reliably explain that answer to your clients, which, as we had seen with ChatGPT, for example, which tells you that, false cases are in fact real. The reasoning process and the way it explains its conclusions, not just the conclusions themselves, can also create a number of concerns. And I think we can go on to the next slide as well. Yes, and I think at the bottom of this, the central point that I believe Soraya has been trying to make as well is that you can't rely on the AI itself. Any results you get from artificial intelligence have to be, critically assessed and double checked outside of the AI by, attorneys and their staff. And I think that this is actually an area where, MyLS, which does use some similar features, like, for example, smart forms that auto-populate, different, say, immigration forms that you would commonly use. But MyLS is actually, doesn't actually have AI that trains itself. It's all generated by people with significant legal experience as well as technical expertise. And I don't know, Sarah, is there anything else that you would like to add here?
I think it's like any form of new technology, we have to apply the principles that we all learned as attorneys in law school, which is, checking your source, especially if you were on a law review or a journal, one of the most important principles that you learn is that you have to check the source to make sure it says what you are purporting it to say. So we just have to go back to the old principles that we learned in law school. And it's always good to have someone proofread your work. A second set of eyes is always good, to check the citations, make sure there's still good case law. I would recommend shepherdizing them on Lexis, or making sure they're not flagged on Westlaw. So those are all principles we learned in law school in legal writing and drafting. So lawyers are still needed for those functions. So I would just recommend that, lawyers use AI very carefully and remember the principles that they learned in law school. Yeah.
I think that's very good advice. And then I think we can go on to the next slide then. Yes, and I think, Soraya has just done a very good job of explaining, exactly how attorneys need to reduce and mitigate the unforeseen consequences of AI by, both monitoring it for for biases, ensuring that the AI is properly trained or created under the direction of people with legal expertise rather than just being allowed to run itself without supervision. And finally, obviously, Soraya also said, double checking independently of any AI you use that the citations are accurate and properly formatted, and that everything is also up to date, and that your case law hasn't been overruled or become irrelevant. And I think we can go to the next slide then. I'm sorry, the next slide, please. Thanks. So yes, one of the things that we also want to highlight, and as Soraya mentioned earlier, that one of the issues with AI is that it's a very cutting edge technology. A lot of the solutions that My Legal Software is promoting as an alternative have been tested in law firms at this point for over 10 years, over on thousands and thousands of cases. And so, the reliability concerns are significantly mitigated with an alternative like My Legal Software, which does have, some advanced smart features that, can save you time, but is also, very thoroughly supervised and created by attorneys for attorneys. And it's right. Is there anything else that you wanted to add on that point?
No, I'm later on. We can certainly go into My Legal Software and see how technology can definitely assist you and assist any attorney and their staff in their day-to-day practice. So I'm sure we'll get to that later in the presentation.
Yes, and so I think this is the final. We can now go on to the final slide on the AI section of the presentation. Yes, the conclusion. Sorry. And yes, as we've said, there are undeniable benefits. However, there are also hidden dangers, and these cover, ethics concerns, the, biases, issues with the quality of the results that you're likely to get, and just about everything that is basically fundamental to the practice of law. However, yes, it is also possible to navigate these dangers as well. And yes, I think now we can go over how, a practicing attorney like Soraya has used My Legal Software as well to, mitigate both the not just ethical issues from AI, but any number of other ethical issues that can arise in the practice of law, and show how software can actually be, improving your legal ethics, or at least acting as a check on them.
Yes, so yes, here we go. This is my LS. This is what I use every day in practice. So this is the home screen that you come to when you log in. And before we get into the details of the features of my LS, just broadly speaking, this is technology that helps mitigate risks which come with practicing law, such as deadline compliance, making sure tasks get assigned properly, that there's a flow of cases through the office, from consultation to decision. It helps keep track of time per case, per user. There's a calendar, can keep track of incoming and outgoing mail. It's a mail log. I can communicate with other team members on urgent issues through the use of a ticket. And I can manage leads through the front desk feature. So we can go through each one of these features one by one, and there's a lot more features as well. But those are some of the ones that I use most frequently and that have helped me in managing cases. So let's start with let's start at the top. So create a new case. So it's a very simple questionnaire, very user-friendly. Anyone can do this. You fill in the prospective client's information and their contact information, what kind of case it is, which, by the way, will come in handy when you're trying to, if you want to pull a report, for example, you want to see how many asylum cases that are active or inactive. You want to see how globally, how many, for example, asylum cases your firm has handled. It's a very easy report you can pull later on. So if you have multiple branches, you can assign a branch. You can put in the deadlines right from the start, so those aren't missed. The date of arrival, and then you can put in the NTA date. Sometimes we have that, sometimes we don't, because the court hasn't filed or issued an NTA. You can assign it to whoever you want, whichever attorney, whichever paralegal you want to assign it to. They get a notification right away through the app itself and by email that a case has been opened and assigned to them. You can put in your accounting information in the retainer. And this is all customizable also. You can specify what you want in the drop-down menu as per your firm's needs. There's also a general practice version of the software. So it's definitely highly customizable. You can put whether it's a flat fee or an hourly retainer. And you'll see here administrative fee. What that means is the software will let you pass down the cost of the software or offset it to the client. So you can include that as part of your fee to the client.
And as Soraya said, that this can be customized. So, for example, if you have recurring payments that happen every month from a client, the software is capable of tracking that as well.
There are also accounting reports that you can have your designated accounting personnel pool to see, for example, if there's a monthly payment plan in place.
Yes, in addition to, say, filtering by types of cases like asylum, you can also filter by, say, cases with past due balances.
You can add all your interested parties here if it's somebody other than the main person. You can save and continue. We have automated template or like forms. So you can assign the forms right at the case opening. For example, if it's I-130. And then you can add who is going to be filing it, which should be the participant that you inputted. And then at the final screen, you can add add, it automatically created the deadlines for the 1-year filing deadline and the NTA date. And you can add in any other deadlines that your client might have that's particular to him or her. And if there's no other deadline, then you can go ahead and save and create the case. This is how you would add any other deadline. Save, and it's going to create the case. And this is what your client's case page looks like. And you have all these features for this case. So all the notes can go in here whenever the client, there's any interaction with the client, any work done on the case, it can be noted in the case notes page. For example, did intake with client and open case. And then if you want to bill for this time, you could put in the time that you spent and then put in a billing description. And then this, you'll see it shows up. Oh, okay. I think we maybe accidentally hit cancel.
And I also want to point out that while in this demo, you see us filling in the amount of minutes manually, at the top of the screen, there's also a stopwatch that is keeping track of the amount of time that you're on this page. And you can actually stop the top and save your timesheet, your billing description and your minutes there as well.
I didn't even know about that feature. Okay, that's very nice. So, and then you'll see here that it shows up on the hourly billing for the case itself. Later on, if we have time, we'll also go to the timesheet. It also shows up there for each user. Yeah, right there. So you can kind of measure a user's productivity with this timesheet. So if we go back to the case page, yes, and then so if we just go down the tab, so we went over the note section, and then the case bio section has the basics that we put in when we open the case. And if the case is ready to be closed, you can mark it inactive, and then you can reassign the attorney and the paralegal. So these are just the kind of the biographic elements of the page. Okay, so if we go to the next tab, which is the task tab, this will allow you to assign tasks to different users. So for example, if this is an asylum case, I would naturally want to file the asylum application. So I could assign the asylum application, and I would pick who I would want to assign it to. And, I can indicate how high the priority is, the date I sign it, the date I want it done by. And then the user I assign it to will get a notification that they have a new task. And then if there's a ticket issued, you'll see the ticket issued at the bottom of this page as well.
And another nice part about this feature is that, especially in the task section, it allows you to upload a template if this is a kind of common task that your firm or practice deals with more than, on a repeated basis. You can give an example to the person who you're assigning the task to and let them see exactly what you're expecting from them, what the finished product should look like.
Yes, that's also a very helpful feature. And you'll have the option of uploading which templates that you want, and those would show up in the drop-down menu.
All right.
Go to the next tab, which is custom forms. So Rahul, you could talk more about that.
Sure. So the custom forms are a bit about what we were talking about earlier with our example of smart forms. So these allow you to, from a simple intake sheet, automatically populate any form or group of forms that would apply to the same client. So for example, since this is the immigration demo, we'll use the example of, say, adjustment of status. You would know that when you're applying for adjustment of status in the United States, you have a group of forms, say the I-130, if it's a spousal one, the I-130A, the I-485, the I-864, that are all going to go together. You are also probably going to be filing for a work permit and for advanced parole when you're filing for adjustment of status. So at that point, you have a lot of different forms that are asking for the same information over and over again. What MyLS does for you is for any participant in that form, say one is the petitioner, the other is the beneficiary, you have a simple intake form that gets all their biographical information, all the information you need for all of the forms, and from that one, and from entering it once, you can auto-populate all of the forms with a simple intake instead of repeating the same effort over and over again. And the second feature, which we are pulling up right now, is the client portal login. This allows your clients to actually see a limited portion of My Legal software, what you make accessible to them, and actually upload the documents you need from there and fill out the forms themselves to save you that time. Or not fill out the forms themselves, I'm sorry, but fill out the intake questionnaire. So if you need their name, their date of birth, their residential history, their employment history, things like that, they can provide them in the intake questionnaire rather than you taking it from them and then inputting it yourself. So it's just another way that MyLS both saves you time and improves the reliability of your results by decreasing human error.
Absolutely. And if you're, and this can be used in many different ways. You can send the request directly to the client if they're tech savvy. If it's a client that's not as tech savvy, you can give them their usual questionnaire, your usual intake sheet, and have your paralegal at least have this available to them so that it saves them time as well. So they would only have to input, for example, the date of birth one time, and it would show, the same data would populate across all of the forms.
And just in terms of record keeping regarding your communications with the client, all of that is integrated. You can say, we made this request on this date. We have it recorded in MyLS that, we communicated with you on this date. And it resolves a lot of, he said, she said disputes with clients about whether you gave them the information they needed, or whether that you were waiting on them.
Absolutely. Okay, so if we go to the next tab, it would be events and interviews. That would be where you would input any upcoming events, such as a hearing or a deadline. For example, when you're filing deadline, if you have your master hearing coming up or your individual hearing coming up, you can put that in. And of course, this shows up on your calendar, which is, on the left-hand side, that'll pull all dates from all the cases. So that's that tab. And then the next tab is the mail tab. And this allows you to keep track of all the incoming and outgoing mail. You can input whatever it is and upload it so you can see exactly when you received it, what the tracking number is. And one other benefit to this feature is that you can use this to pull a mail report. For example, if you have a remote worker and they need to see all the mail that came in for any certain day, they can go to their mail report and just pull all the incoming mail for whichever day or range of days that they want to see the incoming mail. So this becomes very helpful in the audit function.
And because it's customizable, it need not, be limited to physical mail. You can also record, electronic filings here as well. Anything that, is submitted by your office or that received by your office can be tracked here.
Okay, and then next is the accounting tab. This will tell you exactly how much your invoice is, how much has been paid, what is the payment history, and you can also see it at the top of the page, so that information is easily accessible and handy. In the next tab, and then you can also add, an online payment, and issue an invoice directly from the software. Okay, and then you have hourly billing. This is where any hourly billing, any form of hourly billing which was made when put in the case notes will compile, or you can also manually add an entry through this tab. Okay, this is the generic USCIS forms tab. Raul, if you could talk a little bit about that.
Sure. So this is where you have a library and an up-to-date and comprehensive library of all of the USCIS forms. If you had a different kind of practice, we could populate this with the forms that would be applicable to that practice. But it's basically, instead of the custom forms, which are auto-populating, we give you the actual PDF version as USCIS provides it, just so that you have that available to you. And yes, this is just a document storage tab. It's where you can upload just about any file that might be relevant to your case, and they will be stored. It's a cloud-based storage. It's encrypted with state-of-the-art data security to ensure the confidentiality of your client's documents. And you can basically, see them in chronological order. You can label them however you like. You can note how you received them. And yes, you can, provide any information about them that you think your users will need to know. Templates, this would be another place where if you had assigned, say, a template to this case or to a specific task, you could store all your templates here that were relevant to this case. And yes, you can upload from your law firm or anything in your practice's history, anything that you would want to use as a template for this case. And then here there are the parties. In different kinds of cases, there might be different kinds of parties. You might have somebody who's just a contact. You might have, in a case like this where we said it was adjustment of status, you'll have both a petitioner and a beneficiary. And yes, you can just provide all of the relevant information that you need about them here. And here is where, through the client portal, you can send any notifications to the client that you want. And it's also, again, integrated with MyLS so that you have a record of yourself making this, sending this message to the client. And here as well, you can just, we have SMS messaging integrated with MyLS so that you have that stored as well based on the phone number and information that you provide for whichever party. And this, as we mentioned earlier, if you have a tech-savvy client, you can create for them a client dashboard and a client portal where they can receive the notifications from you. They can make payments through that. They can upload documents, provide information. They can contact you through that so that you have a record as well that you have to get back to them. That's all integrated right here. And it would appear on your dashboard as an alert. And you can also, in the final instance, get signatures from the client with our DocuSign integration. All right. And so
those are the main features of the case page. We could, it would take a little bit more time to go through all of the features, although as you can see, it's very easy to learn, very easy to use. But there are so many features which really depends on your practice and your practice's needs to, know which ones would be most beneficial. But I think we can take some questions and then wrap up the webinar.
all right.
Okay, I do see we have some questions. Are there any ethical considerations or guidelines that attorneys should keep in mind when using AI in their practice? To answer this question, I'll just reiterate what I suggested before, which is just to remember the principles that we all learned in law school, which is to check citations and make sure what you're presenting to the court is truthful and accurate, and to verify that. Okay, can lawyers effectively balance the tools of AI with traditional research methods? Rahul, you want to take that one?
Yes, I mean, I think as Soraya said in answer to the previous question, they have to. You can't forget what you learned in law school just because a new tool develops. You have to make sure that you are using the traditional research methods as well.
Yes, absolutely. Okay, so these other questions, I believe we've answered them already. So maybe they were asked before we discussed them, but I believe we answered them already. So
yes, I think so. All right, so I think that should be everything for this week's session. Join us next week. We will have information about the upcoming MyLS webinar available shortly on the website. Thank you to Soraya, Soraya Rahman, the managing attorney of Gahey & Associates, for joining us today and providing her great insights into AI use in the practice of law. And we look forward to speaking with you again next week.
thank you. Thanks, everyone.